children there, the people there, but also those that are in this room and through your work. I just want to say you are one powerful woman, and I love you. I will always celebrate you loudly.
All right.
That said, if I can get this mic to work, here we go. You're probably wondering the powerful voice that just spoke 2 seconds ago. Let me introduce her officially. Well, before that, one more time, ladies and gentlemen. So here to co-moderate our Q&A with our filmmaker, Megan, is Maria Carmina. Maria Carmina Landicho is a powerhouse media personality, cultural strategist, and founder of Philam Game Changers. Recognized with the key to the city of Los Angeles in 2017 for shifting the narrative on representation in media and entertainment. As a Filipino woman in leadership, she's built her career on turning raw stories into cultural currency. From global documentaries to headline-making digital campaigns, working with artists like Rihanna, New Edition, John B., Jordan Clarkson, and many more. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Maria Carmina.
I want to introduce Maria Carmina and why she's here today. So when I created Between Two Worlds, the podcast, I needed an editor. And I put out a search, a casting, I guess you would say, in search of an editor on Instagram. And our mutual connection, Carlo, recommended Maria Carmina. And he was supposed to be, I'm sure Carlo. Shout out to Carlo. Shout out to Carlo. And he introduced me to Maria Carmina, and I hired her, so she was the one who edited the entire podcast. And so it only felt right that I asked her to moderate this Q&A because she's been part of this entire storytelling from the beginning. So thank you.
Well, what an honor, again, just even to be in your presence, Megan. Again, you are super powerful. So thank you for, one, hiring me, and also having me here. So tell us the story behind creating this film.
Yes, so I've mentioned this podcast a few times, and that's because this was really the origin point of this story, and it is my pride and joy. I created that out of just an idea of wanting to tell a story. And really the inspiration for the podcast is I was listening to a couple other similar types of audio documentaries in sports towards the end of 2022. One in particular called Pink Card. It's an ESPN 30 for 30 podcast. And it's about how Iranian women who want to support football get banned from the country. They're exiled. And in the beginning, in the intro episode, the host is Iranian American, first generation. She talks about growing up in Reno, not understanding which identity she belongs to, and wanting to connect to her culture. And I remember the very first episode, she was interviewing a guest and she didn't speak Farsi, so she had her mom translate. And I remember thinking in my head, I was driving, how much I wanted to create a podcast or a show very similar, and I hope to one day find the right story. And then it dawned on me, I was like, oh, the Philippines are going to a World Cup, maybe there's something here. So it really started with the podcast, and the reception of that podcast during 2023 was greater than I would have ever imagined. And again, I really focused on the Filipino-American experience because as a Philam myself, that's what I know. And I noticed that the media outlets throughout the Philippines World Cup run really ran with that narrative of the players being from the United States and these other countries. So much that one of the networks even called the Philippines the US B team. And I actually felt a lot of responsibility. I don't regret anything. That podcast to this day is still my greatest piece of work besides now this film. But I felt a great responsibility for not telling the whole story. And that is of the homegrown players, the people back in the Philippines, those who helped the Philippines get to even that qualifying point, but then weren't able to make it on the national team or didn't get the call up. So that's why I wanted to create this film, was I wanted to tell the bigger picture, the whole story, and then also get to go visit the Philippines for the first time.
For the first time, what was that feeling like when you first landed and you're like, because I can recall my first time and it just sends chills down my back now thinking about it, but I would love to hear that.
It was surreal. Like I kept saying in the film, it just felt like home. I mean, there was a lot of things, right? We were tired, our bags took forever to get. There was traffic, there was humidity, but there was just so much excitement. I mean, we landed at 6 in the morning, but we were up, we were ready to go, and it just felt, I don't know, I guess maybe you can relate to your first time, you just felt like I'm home.
Yeah.
Like it just enmeshed, it worked.
Absolutely. So in this process, what did you learn through it?
A lot. Well, as a first-time filmmaker, I learned a lot. I will say I don't consider myself a filmmaker. I just wanted to tell a story. So I learned a lot about production. Again, AJ really guided me and taught me so much throughout this post-production process. And looking back on it, there's a lot I would do differently. But I learned a lot about production and creating a film. Joke's on me, I thought I could have released this last year, right? And no, there's a lot more work that goes into it. It makes me appreciate TV and movies so much more now. But I learned a lot about production. I learned a lot about myself. So when we were in the Philippines, perhaps you might be able to relate. Growing up, I always felt this like, I don't know how to articulate it. People would ask me, are you mixed? Oh, you're Filipino, are you mixed? Actually, even, I was telling my mom this story yesterday, I had the great pleasure the other week of interviewing Manny Pacquiao. And when I greeted him, I said, "Kumusta?" And then he said something back in Tagalog, and then I stared at him with a split face because I don't speak Tagalog.
Right.
And then he asked me, if I'm Filipino, and which parent? I said, both my parents. But a lot of people assume I'm mixed, because I'm fair-skinned. They're surprised when I tell them both my parents are from the Philippines. And so I always felt like I needed to qualify that. And while we were in the Philippines, we had similar experiences where, out of respect for the culture, myself and Evan would try to speak Tagalog when we can. We would use phrases where we could just out of respect. We hate going to a country and expecting everybody to speak English, right? And there were so many times where I would say something. I remember we were on that boat and we were renting like the goggles and all the gear, and I said, "Oh, how much?" And then he said something back in Tagalog, and I was like,
Went over your
I
head.
don't know what she said. And then he's like, "Oh, are you Filipino? Are you not Filipino?" And I always felt the need to be like, "Yes, but I'm this, and my parents are from here, but I grew up in America." But I really learned a lot about myself to just be like, "Yes, I am. I just don't speak Tagalog." But say that with conviction and confidence that I didn't have before. So I learned a lot about myself.
Also, shout out to Evan. I don't know where you are, but you trying to immerse yourself in our culture, trying to understand our language and speak it, like that shows your true support for Megan and just her journey. So shout out to you. All right, what messages? What messages do you hope people will walk away with today?
It's a good question. I wrote the question. I want people to leave with perception for a few different things. One, about Philippines being a football country. I want people to know the Philippines are more than just the 3 Bs. We are more than boxing, basketball, and beauty pageants. Like we, especially on a sports stage, the football community might be young, it might be imperfect, but it's very much alive and well. And I want people to know that they very much want to compete with the best, and they just need the proper resources and honestly infrastructure. It's a great systemic issue, as with any country. It's another thing I learned is really that between two worlds parallel, where you would think in a country like the Philippines, accessibility for anyone to just go out and kick a soccer ball around would be easy, and it's not. You know, here in the U.S., soccer is very much a pay-to-play sport. It very much about money and what you have, and if you have the resources to push your kids into the best programs. It's not what I expected of the Philippines, but it's very much the same structure. So they just need the proper resources and the proper infrastructure for them to succeed at that level. And I want to tell this story so that hopefully those changes can be put in place. But of course, with anything, it's very political and it's very systemic. So I want people to have a perception of Philippines football. I think perception of also, as a football fan, as a sports fan, especially for us football fans, when you look at a team like the U.S. women's national team, who have won 5 World Cups, anything less than a World Cup is considered a failure.
Wow.
Losing in the knockout rounds and penalty kicks is a failure. We should be winning because we are the best. We should be winning every tournament we play in. And then you watch how much that goal at the World Cup meant to the Philippines, how much that win meant to the country. No one expected the Philippines to be in the World Cup. No one expected them to win a game or score a goal. And not only did they score a goal, they beat New Zealand, the host country. And it sounded like a home game. It sounded like a Philippines home game. You guys heard the crowd. And so I think as a sports fan and a football fan, I hope it puts things back into perspective of why we love this game and the pure joy we get from being a fan. And then lastly, on top of that, I think also perspective of the things we have. I didn't expect it to make me so emotional, but like myself as a content creator who receives a lot of PR, I receive a lot of PR from brands, and I'm very fortunate for that. I get sent football jerseys all the time. Shout out my Nike fam, like, I'm so grateful. They sent me a box full of soccer socks and brand new pairs of Nike football cleats, and I don't play. And I'm so grateful for that, but then I see what I'm able to bring back to the Philippines, and you see those girls in Zambales, how much it meant to them to get a box full of jerseys and a box full of shoes. And again, like, someone even told me, Gabby, the co-founder of ANA, said that one of the girls who was there that day hadn't shown up in a while. And then when she heard that, you know, someone was coming and they were really focusing a lot on football, Gabby told me that she stuck around a lot longer than she normally would have. And so I think also just perspective on the things that we have. And, you know, my parents told me that all the time growing up, like, finish your food, there's people back in the Philippines hungry. And, you know, we would always set things back that were still quality use that we could. But to see that for myself, what 10 new soccer balls meant, and what a box of football jerseys and shoes meant, was a really great message that I hope can ground us all.
Yeah, actually, that's something that I did want to highlight. I think people in this room might not know the impact of those 10 soccer balls for those little girls, but that will last them years, decades, and you know, those are things that they don't get often. Maybe we do, but again, impact, amazing. I don't know if we have time for a couple more questions.
Yeah, and also we love to open the floor if anyone wants to ask questions as well.
Okay, I'll ask one more question and then I'll open it up. So what is next for you? You've already done so much, but from here, what's in the future? Yeah.
Well, when it comes to Between Two Worlds, we are screening at another sold-out show over in 2 weeks, which we're very excited about. As of yesterday, we were officially selected to screen at the Phil Am Creator Con in San Diego in September. So we'll be screening twice in the next month and a half. We hope to submit the screen to submit the film to festivals throughout the U.S. and hopefully can bring this film to more people, including high at the top of my list is a screening in New York. Beyond that, my agents are working hard to see if we can get distribution for the film so that it can live online somewhere, or you know, shoot for the stars, it can live on a Netflix or a Hulu, so that the story can reach a greater audience. That's what's next for Between Two Worlds. I would love to continue these projects because what I didn't get the chance to touch on is when we went to the Philippines, we had the intention of traveling to, well, I'm gonna laugh. We had the intention of traveling to all the provinces, and I laugh because that's a lot of places to visit, and we thought we could do that in 3 weeks. But that was also because we had a very base level understanding of the football community. In our mind, we thought we were going to be able to travel to Bacolod and also perhaps Mindanao to see where these true hotbed of football talent live in the Philippines. And we quickly learned that 3 weeks wasn't enough just for Metro Manila. So rather than traveling very quickly and being tired and going to all these different places and casting a wide net and not telling the best story, we decided to stay within Metro Manila and tell a deeper story and hopefully go to these other provinces later. So I would love to continue storytelling and visit these other provinces that we heard about where these true talent lies, and then come to Manila to either play in college or professionally for the teams there. So that's for Between Two Worlds, and then I have other projects in mind that I would love to do. I'm already thinking about next year, the Philippines have qualified for the 2026 AFC Women's Asian Cup. And that is going to be the qualifying tournament for the Philippines to hopefully go back to the 2027 Women's World Cup in Brazil. So I would love to go spend 3 weeks in Australia and continue that storytelling, very similar to the documentaries you would see on Netflix or Prime about a journey back to a championship. It is a project that I kind of want to work on, so that was coming up very quickly. But I already have a lot of storytelling ideas in mind that I want to work on.
Can we, one last applause for Megan, because I'm so excited. I'm just so excited. I'm gonna open up the floor for some